If you have computer chips under the hood of your car the way this '89 Corvette does, all you have to do is plug it into one of these diagnostic machines and you can see exactly what is going on inside the engine. Well, it should be true then of your PC, because after all, there's nothing but computer chips under the hood of that. Well, it is true if you have the right diagnostic tools. Today we'll take a look at diagnostic software on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Hey man, shout out to everybody that knows about that show, man. That's something I watched as a kid growing up. It was excellent, man. Shout out to all the other nerds in the comments, man. Drop a comment down there, man, if you know about that show. Main thing to keep in mind is, did you see that machine that was using to scan that car? That machine was from the 80s, pulling real-time data from a vehicle. Actually, I think it was actually recorded, but you get the point. And shout out to all the old school mechanics that actually used machines like that back in the day. So as you know by the title, what we're going to talk about is what is the best scanner, right? You got some of the most common scanners that everybody pretty much knows about, brands like the Autel. You've got the newer ones like the Think Car, Think Diag. The Launch is a older one that everybody kind of knows too, as well as newer players like the Top Don. You got older like the Snap-on machines, the Versus. They've got the newer ones now. Those run on the Windows platform, I believe. So let me ask you a question. What do you think makes a good scanner? Is it the software? Is it the hardware? Is it the support? Maybe a cheaper price? Well, I would say one of the least important things is the hardware. And that's speaking from a performance standpoint, right? So why do I say that? And that's me coming from I'm not automotive background. I'm actually IT. So I previously did programming, but I spent most of my professional career in infrastructure. So I did networking and stuff like that. So let's look at some of the hardware of some of the latest machines. So we got, for example, this one, the IM608. Everybody knows this. And as you can see, the hardware that it uses runs off of Android 4. It uses, I think the newer Pro, they upgraded to a different Android version. Not that big of a deal. Let's go to their top of the line, the Maxis Ultra. And as you can see, this one uses a different, more powerful processor. It has more RAM and bigger screen and all of that. Now let's check out the Top Don. That's also another one. This is the Phoenix Max, right? And this one, here it is, the Phoenix Max. It uses the MT8788 8-core processor, 2 gigahertz, 8 gig of RAM, 256 gig ROM. Good battery, 1800. Pretty decent, and some of you probably own some of these devices here. For example, I've got the IM608 right here. What if I told you that these devices are not as powerful as you might think they are, and you might have a lot more powerful devices right next to you that you didn't even know about? Perfect example, what I'm recording this video on, what I pretty much do all the videos that you watch on my channel, almost all my diags, everything is done with this phone that I'm recording on right now. This is a Samsung S10 Plus. Okay, so here's the specs. You can get it like mine, 12 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte storage. Okay, and here's the processor. It uses the Snapdragon 855, as you see right there, right? Here's a comparison. This is the processor in the Autel Ultra, and this is my S10 Plus that I'm recording on right now. Look at the performance. The Snapdragon 855 demolished it in every single test. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, let's check the other one. Okay, here's the other one. This is the Top Don, for example. Same thing. You're going to have this replicated on any modern scanner you see. You're going to see the same thing. So then you're going to say like, well, maybe there's something extra special it has in the hardware that, you know, inside you don't know. Well, I can tell you that is not true. The only thing it might have that besides something built in like a oscilloscope or something like that, is probably some copy protection hardware and software. That's about it. But as far as processor and things like that, you can see the facts are right here. In fact, the manufacturers that make these devices, like Autel and all the other manufacturers, they know this. Even though they try to market it and say, "Oh, this one is faster. It has this, this, and that, and it has a bigger screen." The only thing that would probably be good is for better real estate. You can open more things and view at the same time as a bigger screen. But formatting also can help with that as well. But as far as specs on the machines, none of these things are really going to matter. Remember in the beginning of the video, that scanner you saw, that dinosaur, that thing can scan and read and view almost all the same things you view on your current scanners right now. That thing from 1980, right? 85, whatever it was. In fact, I can tell you as a former programmer and, dealing with machines from the 90s and whatnot, all the software that runs on any of your machine that you use, let's say the Autel, whatever, it could probably be rewritten for a thin, light Linux version and ran on a machine from 1999 and run just as fine. So what I'm trying to get at is the numbers that they try to sell you on, or, where they say, "Oh, get the bigger one, it has more performance, the bigger one." That's one of the things I hear a lot, the bigger. It could only mean two things. Either the software is written poorly, why it would run slower, because in any of these modern machines like this can run any kind of scanner software. Is not anything seriously intensive on a CPU or anything like that, as long as it's properly written and optimized. So anytime you see any kind of slowdown, it's bad writing, poor optimization. Maybe they're running other things in the background, stuff like that. As you can see, that machine in the beginning of the video, I'm pretty sure it didn't have anything running in the background. It was solely dedicated to that, and it can scan and read all the stuff you need to see. Even in your little small handheld scanners that you get, a little cheapo. You can view real-time data. You can view bi-directional data and stuff like that. So what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is the hardware is not necessarily the most important thing. It would more come down, in my opinion, to the software, how well it's written. Does it interface with the vehicles that you work with? Are there frequent updates to work on the models that you work with? Maybe you don't work with the newer vehicles, and that's not necessarily that important. Also, another option, if you work on mainly, one maker model or two, another option is actually probably the OEM software. It might make sense depending on the price and all of that. And none of the, aftermarket products such as Autel, Snap-on, or whatever, really is going to work as designed 100% as the original OEM software. They can come close, maybe 95% sometimes or something like that, but it could always be some little small quirky thing that could be a little bit off, because they basically have to emulate the OEM software. They probably, I'm not sure how they do it, but if I had to guess, I would say they probably run the modules on the OEM software, sniff it, and see what the inputs and outputs are, and then they can write their software to mimic and do the same thing. Now, I'd say out of the most popular brands, for example, Autel has some pretty good stuff, because when you think about it, they, the Chinese, they're on this stuff, man. I think the Americans are way behind on this, and the Chinese, they're good at this kind of stuff, by the way. Getting everything that everybody has, incorporating everything together and making a package and selling it, and they're pretty effective at it. And I would say the two major players I feel is Autel and Launch, and I use both. I personally prefer Launch because I think it's better optimized. It's an open platform, as you can see. In fact, those are pretty much the two major Chinese software. So when you see those scanners, for example, they're all launch-based. Outside of the Autel stuff, the other ones are all launch-based. For example, the Top Don, the Think Diag, Think Car, all those things, they're all based off of the Launch X431 software, that platform. You can even look at the screens. If you're familiar with software, you'll notice that they're all pretty much formatted the same. There's some more like the X tool. I have one of those scanners as well. But I would say the two most popular is the Autel and the Launch variants rather. And why I prefer it, for example, is, as I said, The same phone that I'm recording on is also my primary scanner. In fact, let me show you something. This is in my pocket 24/7 everywhere I go. And this is my scanner. All my DAGs you see done on this channel, I do it with this. Every single one, pretty much. On a rare case, I might use the IM608 or something like that if I'm doing security or something else. But everything I do with this. I do programming, I program Mercedes, everything, because it runs off of the launch platform X431. In fact, if you have any one of the other launch variants, you might have an interface that looks something like this, right? And that's what it is. It's the same thing. This is basically the upgraded or newer version of the one that I use. I've been having mine for about 5 or 6 years. It's been through the war and back. It's got its stripes on it. I sell these, by the way. I still have a couple in stock. They come with a tablet and 2 years free updates on the software. And it does everything, foreign, domestic. It's everything you see on anything you see on a launch, top down, any kind of the clones or whatever. It's all the same. They're all using the same platform. So that's what it is. So I have a link in the description to my store. So if you're interested in this is the same thing I use doing all my DAGs, everything on. So it's the same exact platform. You'll be able to do it. In fact, just to show you how it's not anything special, I can run the same software for this or the one in my pocket. I run it right here on the IM608. So I can use this 100% the same way I use my phone or the way the top down, whatever, all those launch variants, I can run it right here. Vice versa, I would be able to port the same IM608 or the Autel Ultra software over to any other device as well. It's running on Android. So it's just software. It's not anything special. The only thing is they might have, like I said, a security hardware chip to then stop you from running, anti-copy software or hardware, but outside of it, it's the same exact. It's just, it's not anything special is what I'm trying to get at. By the way, I just don't have the modules all loaded here because I only use this for some testing or whatnot because of the space requirements and whatnot. So I pretty much use it for testing on the HD. So sometimes I work on the H18 wheelers. I use this. But then again, here's another thing. Believe it or not, customers sometimes, if they're in that area, they kind of want to see something big, or sometimes people have that thing in their mind. They think bigger is better, right? But that's not necessarily the case all the time. So another thing that's important is support. So you're going to want to have device that if you're going to possibly be working on newer cars, for example, that has the updates for the newer cars. So, and also the pricing on all that stuff. So you need to look at all those things when you want to make your decision on what tool you want to get. Look at also the price they charge to renew the updates, because a lot of the tools might come with 1 year of updates, and you have to renew the license to update again, sometimes 2 years. So you check into all of that so you can see the full cost of that tool, if you do think you'll probably be working on newer vehicles where you might want to have the updates. Some of the tools right now, like the Autel, they're kind of making it where the tool is almost online only. They're kind of moving in that direction, to kind of stick you to where you have to be paying them every year. That's another thing to keep in mind. So in conclusion, what is the best scan tool? What is best for you in your environment, the vehicles you work with? And like I said, I wouldn't dwell too much on the hardware or whatever. They all can pretty much do the same thing. The manufacturers might limit certain things, like, for example, on the Autel IM608 and 508, they might limit what's on it, but I guarantee you can run everything, the software on the 608 to the 508 and vice versa. There is no difference really. They might limit something or change something on the hardware to limit you from doing it, but the machine itself can do it without an issue. So you just gotta pick whatever best fits your needs for your operation and the vehicles you work with. Sometimes that might be OEM software, and that way you never have to wonder, hey, is this scanner reading it properly? Is this information is giving me correct? Or is it because do I need to download the original manufactured software? You would eliminate that. Let's say you only work on one or two cars, for example, only Toyota and Honda. Then you might be better off getting just OEM software and not having to deal with, aftermarket software and updates that, might not even have everything that you need. So anything I missed, drop it in the comments. Let Leave a thumbs up, guys, and see you guys on the next video.